Hello everyone. I have been a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's for a long time now, and it was pretty cool to see how far it came as a franchise. Aside from the games, we got multiple books and an entire movie with more to come. But I was mainly interested in the main story of the games. And I wanted to know, how did each game and book affect the story as it progressed? How did the story of Five Nights at Freddy's evolve? I think everyone can agree that the story of the series wasn't planned out on day one, and Scott was simply adding to the story as he continued making the games. Since the first game of the series was simply Scott's last game as a developer, because his games weren't received very well. And so, it all began with Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was released in 2014. Everyone enjoyed the game for their own reasons. Some thought the gameplay was fun, others liked the horror elements and atmosphere. And of course, people loved the story and the mystery of the game. For me, each game divides its story to 3 sections. 1. Surface level. From the name, it's self-explanatory. It's the story that you can gather while playing the game, and it goes as follows. You are playing as Mike Schmidt, who is working as a security guard for Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria. You are trying to defend yourself from animatronics, who if they see you, they will try and put you in an animatronic suit which will kill you. It seems that they are acting like this because of a glitch in the system. And that's pretty much it. Mike finished night 5, comes back for a bonus 6th night and gets fired on his 7th night for tampering with the animatronics. Everything sounds normal, well aside from the whole dying thing and the mention of the bite of 87 where one of the animatronics bit someone during the day and made them lose their frontal lobe. And the fact that the phone guy who was giving the instruction to survive dies on night 4, but aside from that, everything is normal. Until people started digging deeper into the game, and the story became much darker. 2. Secrets level. You get a better understanding of the story from secrets and Easter eggs that can randomly appear from time to time. The most important secrets from this game are the newspaper clippings that randomly appear at Camp 4B. It tells the full story of this place, and it goes like this. On June 26, 5 kids were killed. They were lured into a back room by a guy who dressed as one of the animatronics. He was caught, but the bodies were never found. Customers had been noticing blood coming out from the animatronics, implying that the kids are inside the animatronics, so it's possible that the animatronics are possessed by the kids' spirits. And finally, the restaurant will close at the end of the year because of the 5 missing kids incident that took place many years ago. I do believe that the story so far was meant to be in one location. Look at Mike's paycheck. It says November, which could mean around the end of the year. So, Mike was possibly the last guard working in there before the place shut down for good. And that was the story of the game, but there is one last level we have to get through. 3. Mystery level. Stuff that didn't have a direct answer in the game they appeared at, and we had to wait for another game to release to answer these questions. The biggest mystery of the first game was Golden Freddy. No one really knew what he was exactly, but the most common theories were 1. He is the one who caused the bite of 87. 2. He is the suit that the killer used to lure the kids. Nothing was clear about Golden Freddy, and we had to wait a few months before getting a somewhat of an answer from. After the massive success of the first game, Scott decided to release a sequel as fast as possible to support his family and to capitalize on the hype of the game before it dies down. And with that, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was released only a few months after the first game. Scott made the game bigger in a few ways. He added more cameras and a new gameplay system. He also added more animatronics, and of course he expanded the lore even more. Surprisingly, playing this game normally will provide more information than the last game. You play as Jeremy Fitzgerald from night 1 to 6 as the new security guard for the grand reopening of Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria. The previous phone guy from the last game returns, and he explains some suspicious things towards the day shift guard. After the 6th night, Jeremy gets transformed into the day shift position after it got suddenly opened after 5 kids were killed in this location. The person you play as in night 7 is a guy named Fritz Smith, who gets fired for the exact same reason as the guard from the first game. Also, while you are playing, phone guy explains that there were 2 more locations before this one, another Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria, and a new one called Fredbear Family Diner. The game already gives you a lot, but the question was, is this game a prequel or a sequel? People quickly realized it was a prequel. The date at the paycheck is 1987, which was mentioned in the phone calls of the first game. Also the fact that phone guy is alive when he was supposed to be dead, with other reasons to believe that this game take place before the previous game. The story isn't over yet, as from the secret 8-bit mini-games we get the full story of Five Nights at Freddy's, at least when we only had 2 games. A kid was killed by a purple guy outside one of the locations, possibly Fredbear Family Diner, and they possessed the puppet. The place shuts down and the first Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria open. It doesn't last long though, as the purple guy kills 5 kids and hide their bodies inside the animatronics, meaning the newspaper clipping we're talking about that location instead of the first game one. With the puppet help, the kids possess the animatronics of that place and it gets shut down. The Five Nights at Freddy's 2 location opens, and another 5 kids get killed by the purple guy who works as the day shift guard, and the kids possess the toy animatronics. This place gets shut down after the bite of 87, when one of the toy animatronics bit Jeremy when he was working at the day shift thinking he was the purple guy. The toys get scrapped and the withered parts make the classic animatronics still haunted by the kids' spirits get sent to the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 location along with the puppet. The mystery with Golden Freddy was kinda solved in this game. One of the phone calls hinted that he was the suit that the killer used to kill the kids. There was also a lot of random Easter eggs in this game, but perhaps the most 2 important ones are Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie. No one knew or had any idea of what they could be, but the next game did give us some clarity. Scott wanted to finish the story that he has been building up by now, with the 3rd game making a nice short game trilogy, so again Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was released a couple of months after the 2nd game. Following up the main story is pretty simple, and in a way, it does conclude the overall story. 30 years after the first game location closed down, you are playing as a nameless security guard for a horror attraction themed around Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria. You fight against one animatronics who can actually kill you, and he is called Springtrap. You also hallucinate other type of animatronics called the Phantoms. From the phone calls, you learn about something called the Spring Lock suits. They double as an animatronic and a wearable suit. These suits are Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. Between each night there is an 8-bit minigame showing the purple guy destroying the animatronics one by one. But at the end, the souls of the kids gets out of the suits and attack the purple guy. He wears the Spring Bonnie suit, the same one he used to lure the kids with, to scare them, but the suit turns to an animatronic because of a spring lock failure, killing him in the process. At the end, the nameless guard burns down the place to free the souls of the kids and to kill Springtrap, but that doesn't work. Springtrap survive and the kids' souls still haunt the animatronics. That's right, playing the game normally will lead to a bad ending, so how can you get the good ending? Well, by doing some specific complicated steps you will be able to access secret mini-games, so you can give the souls of the kids their happiest day, a birthday that never got finished. As you can see, everything was solved in this game, and a good theory at the time to explain the shadows was that they are the souls of 2 employees who died in a spring lock failure. But this was never confirmed, and at the moment there is a different explanation for them, but years ago, the spring lock's failure was the best solution. And, yeah, that was the story of Five Nights at. God damn it. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was supposed to be the last game of the series, but because how bad Springtrap's jump scare was received, Scott decided to make another game and call it the final chapter, and he will make it the scariest game in the series. And with that, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 was released a couple of months after the 3rd game, making the total of games we got in a year for the franchise is 4. Scott both succeed and failed at the same time when he made this game. He managed to make one of the scariest games of all time, but he messed up the story in the way. The story gets told by a bunch of mini-games after each night, where we follow a little kid who people called him the crying child, waiting for his birthday party that will happen in Fredbear Family Diner, while getting bullied by his older brother every single day. All of this leads to the birthday party, where the crying child's brother accidentally kills him by getting him closer to Fredbear Mouth and he gets bitten by him. And that was everything clear about that game. Anything else was very vague at the time. Like, what is this weird Fredbear plush that keeps following the child? Are the nightmares real? Do they take place after or before the bite? Is even the child the one who is experiencing them? But most importantly,
was that the bite of 87?
Or 83? It was a lot, and it didn't help that Game Theory released a video explaining Dream Theory. Long story short, the theory suggests that everything that happened in the games are in the mind of the crying child recovering from the bite. Let's just say, this wasn't the best theory ever created, and the fourth game left everyone wondering and asking questions that it seemed it had no answer. Oh boy, I sure hope Scott doesn't release more stuff that would cause even more confusing. The Silver Eyes is the first book of the novel trilogy. It was released after the fourth game, and Scott made it clear that it wasn't canon to the game's story. Some elements can be similar, but the stories are different. Spoiler warning, if you haven't read the books yet, or at least this one, skip this part of the video and go read them yourself. You have been warned. The story follows Charlie, who meet with her friends to attend a memorial for their friend Michael. He was one of the 5 kids that were killed in Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria. Charlie and her friends find the old pizzeria and mess around in it, until they get caught by Dave, the security guard. He allows them to enter that night, but he quickly wears the Spring Bonnie suit and kidnaps Carlton, one of Charlie's friends. They go back again to save him, and Charlie kills Dave by activating the spring locks while he is inside the suit, dying exactly like the purple guy from the games. The biggest thing the book reveals is the name of the purple guy, which is William Often. Oh, right, Dave was his fake name, I forgot to mention that. While also giving us some interesting informations, like how Fredbear Family Diner existed at the same time as the first Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria. Charlie's dad was named Henry before he killed himself using one of his animatronics because he was the inventor of them, and he was in a business relationship with William, until William killed Charlie's brother when she was a kid. This book might not have answered questions we had about the fourth game, but it adds to the overall story, giving us the name of the purple guy and doing some minor stuff here and there. William Often being canon was confirmed in sister location. In Scott's eyes, the story of the games was done. But he wasn't ready to let the series go just yet, so he wanted to make a RPG-type game with Freddy and the other animatronics characters in a fun, simple game not related to the main story whatsoever. Not all of that happened though. Scott decided to link this game to the series' overall story, but he kinda discarded later as he wasn't pleased with how World turned up to be. The game itself tries to tie itself with the third game, as the mini-games you were supposed to do to get the good ending comes from this game, and then people start theorizing that this might be the heaven for this world. Another thing was Desk Guy in the second update. A guy gets killed by a mysterious animatronic at the end of the game, which parallel Henry from the Silver Eyes. At the end, this game doesn't have any significant addition to the lore. Now let's get back to the original storyline. After realizing that the fourth game was a little confusing for the fans, Scott decided to continue the story and use his next big game to clear up some misconceptions. Scott took a bit longer to develop this game, and while the Silver Eyes and World were helping the fans wait, Scott finally released the game almost a year after the fourth game. You play as someone who is presumably called Mike, who is a technician for Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rentals, an underground facility that stores the Funtime animatronics in it. These characters were supposed to be for Circus Baby's Pizza World that opened for one day, and then closed due to gas leaks seen in one of the teasers for the game. Mike gets instructed by Baby, the main animatronic of that place, but she only leads him to a trap, as she and the other animatronics form one animatronic from their parts called an art. Their plan is to use a machine called the Scooper to get inside Mike and wear him as a suit, and that will help them escape the place. I hope you are keeping up with me, because that's the surface level stuff. We are just getting into the secret stuff now. William Often is the one who made the Funtimes. He made them to lure and capture kids to make it easier for him to make experiments on them, as it seems that he knows about the haunting and animatronic thing, and he wants to use this for his advantage. His daughter, however, decided to play with Baby alone, even when her father told her not to, and this ended up making her gets killed by Baby and eventually possess her. The game also confirms that the bite of 83 happened in the fourth game. By making you enter a code in a secret room, which was 1983, it will show the fourth game house, and on the desk, there was that little Fredbear plush that kept following the crying child, which made people believe that the crying child is connected to William often and that the fourth game family was his. The custom night update for the game was released, and it showed some interesting stuff. First, it confirms that you play as Michael, who was the older brother for the crying child, and that he was sent underground by his dad. It also showed that Michael is basically a corpse at one point, so Enard escapes from him, but he doesn't die somehow. And finally, Michael talks to this dad telling him that he did what he told him to do, and he is coming to find him. So maybe, just maybe, telling us that we were playing as Michael in the third game. The Twisted Ones is the second story of the novel trilogy. It continues the story of the first novel and builds the road for the third one. Spoiler warning, if you haven't read the books yet, or at least this one, skip this part of the video and go and read them yourself. You have been warned. The story continues where Charlie is haunted by the day William took her brother Sammy. And stuff escalated when the twisted animatronics are trying to find Charlie, who are simply normal robots but with an illusion disc that make them appear scarier. Charlie, John, Jessica and Clay, who is Carlton's father, tried to stop the Twisted Ones, but Charlie let one of them capture her willingly to see if it will take her to her brother. Clay kept the original animatronics, and they helped the team out knowing that William could still be alive. William is alive as Springtrap. He strangely tells Charlie that he picked her and not her brother. He escapes and the place they were in started to collapse. Charlie dies in one of the Twisted Ones, but then she appears again alive and well, but John says that this isn't Charlie. The most important part from this book is introducing the illusion discs. William is the one who made them, so people thought it is possible that he used these things on the crying child and make him see the nightmares as scary as possible. It also explains that William is an inventor just like Henry, which the fun times reflect that in the games. The Freddy Files is simply a guidebook that tries to mention everything about the series up to this point: characters, gameplay, theories, everything. Each game has its own chapter, and the final chapter talks about the novels. The information from this book is a little shaky, and a lot of fans agreed to not use it as a definitive source of information. I just wanted to mention it here to acknowledge its existence, and to explain how some people feel towards it. Scott wanted to finish this new chapter of the story that started from Sister Location, but he couldn't do it without trolling us first. He said that he will put the 6th game on hold while he is working on a fun, simple pizzeria simulator game, and after it's done, he will continue working on the 6th game. But when the pizzeria simulator game was released, fans were surprised that this was the next official game, the one that concluded the story. While you have fun with the pizzeria simulator section and play some mini games here and there, the main objective of the game is to salvage all the main for animatronics of this game. They look different, but you met all of them by now. Molten Freddy, it is Enard minus Baby, as she was injected from him by the other animatronics for being too controlly. It's theorized that the Fun Times have the original 5 kids' souls in them, and when they turned into Enard, all of them are sharing the same host now. Scrap Baby. After Baby was injected from Enard, she rebuilt her body again, still haunted by the spirit of William's daughter, Elizabeth Often. Scrap Trap, its Springtrap new form, after surviving the fire from the 3rd game, still possessed by William. And Lefty, an animatronic that was designed by Henry to capture the puppet, who has the soul of his daughter, Charlie. And finally, you play as Michael. Henry planned to put all the animatronics in one place and burned it to the ground, freeing the souls of the kids and sending William to hell. Him and Michael stayed because they feel they are where they should be. The last shot is the kids' grave, giving us their name: Gabriel, Fritz, Susie, Jeremy and Charlie, who is in the back, all set to rest. Although, the name of the spirit of Golden Freddy wasn't revealed in this game. The Survival Logbook is a simple children activity book that contains important lore and secret messages in it. The book was for Michael when he was working as a security guard for Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria, but it looks like he was selling it. The book contains what it seems to be two spirits talking with each other, and those spirits has to be for the crying child talking to his brother, and the spirit of Golden Freddy talking to the crying child. It seems like the book had given us the name of both of these spirits. By following the clues that the book gives us, we get Cassidy for the spirit of Golden Freddy, and Dave for the crying child. It's worth mentioning that the book also hints at the idea that Michael is the one who we were playing as in the fourth game, getting nightmares after finishing his shift from the first game location. And confirms he is the person we played it in all of the games, except the second game, but maybe he was the one we played as in Night 7. The Fourth Closet is the third and final book of the novel trilogy. It concludes the story of Charlie and her friends in the novel universe. Spoiler warning, if you haven't read the books yet, or at least this one, skip this part of the video and go read them yourself. You have been warned. The book follows John after the last book. He is having nightmares about what happened with the Twisted Ones and isn't believing that Charlie is alive. After a series of events, John and Jessica found the real Charlie, while the fake one is actually Baby helping William doing experiment on himself and the original animatronics. He is taking remnant from them, which is the energy that gives the robots the will to live. He tries to have it for himself to be immortal. It's then revealed that Charlie is a robot that is made by Henry to cope with the fact that William killed Charlie when she was young, not her brother like she thought. And Baby was supposed to be the older version of her but was made out of anger and was never truly finished until William stole it. William's daughter, Elizabeth, got killed by her similar to the games, but long story short, Charlie kills herself with the fake one, and the original animatronics kill themselves with William and free their souls. After all of this, John goes to see Charlie grave, and then it's unclear what happened next. And that's all what the novels gave us. This book introduced the idea of remnant, giving us a scientific explanation to why the animatronics can get haunted and possessed. It also explains why Michael is a living corpse and didn't die after Enard left his body. It's because after the scooper was used at him, he was injected with remnant, giving him the will to live after death. Ultimate Custom Night is the last addition to the original story of Five Nights at Freddy's. By the way, I know I have been saying final game a lot in this video, but this is the last one, I swear. This game puts you against 50 animatronics that you can customize to your liking. The game doesn't have a specific story and it's simply just one big experience. You figure out things from characters' voice lines. In short, you are playing as William Often, getting tortured by his creation over and over again, and the one who is keeping William in this hell is the one who you shouldn't have killed, which is theorized to be Cassidy, the spirit of Golden Freddy. And that's pretty much everything. There are some small details here and there, like how Susie was the first to get killed by William, but the overall story is done. That was it. The Freddy Files got an updated edition later on to cover up all the main 7 games, and the final chapter added the Fourth Closet and the Survival Logbook, fixing some mistakes the original version had, but the community still agrees to not take this book as a definitive source of information. At the end, if you want to learn more about the lore of this franchise, you have to play the games yourself. Watch people make theories from multiple channels. All of this is part of the experience, and I hope that you found this video somewhat helpful or at least nostalgic, because I had fun working on it. And now, the final timeline for the series at this point, with being as unbiased as possible. The story begins with Fredbear Family Diner, Circus Baby's Pizza World, and the first Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria existing at the same time, and the death of the 3 kids, Charlie, Elizabeth, and the crying child. It is unclear what is the order of their death, so here you come and decide based on the evidence that you come up with. Did William kill Charlie out of spite of Henry? Or did he kill her out of grief for the losing of one of or both of his kids? In my opinion, William often kills Charlie outside Fredbear Family Diner, and she becomes the puppet. Circus Baby's Pizza World opened for one day and then closes after Baby killed Elizabeth and she possessed her. 1983, the crying child is waiting for his birthday party while getting bullied by his brother. He is scared from the robots because he saw his sister getting killed by Baby, and then the bite of 83 happens and he dies. But again, this is my own opinion. After the death of the kids, you can argue if the crying child possessed Fredbear or not. I personally don't think so, and I don't see this changing or adding anything to the lore. Now at this point, Fredbear Family Diner and Circus Baby's Pizza World closed down, leaving the first Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria open, not for long though. On June 26th, William dresses as Spring Bonnie and kills 5 kids, and with the puppet help they possess the 5 animatronics. 1987, in the second game location, another 5 kids were killed by William, and they became the toys. Jeremy finished his night shift and was bitten by one of the toys, causing the bite of 87. Fritz gets fired and that location closes down. The toys are scrapped while the withered will be used for parts for a new set of animatronics. Here you can choose if Fritz is Michael, or he is just a random dude. I think he is Michael, but that's just me. Now in the 90s, the first game location opens, Phone Guy dies, and Mike finished his work then gets fired. Michael fights the nightmares after his time at the last location, or you could believe that the crying child is the one who was having these nightmares. I vote for Michael being the one we play as in the 4th game, but you can think otherwise. Then William destroys the animatronics. He tries to escape from the kids' souls by hiding in the Spring Bonnie suit but dies. Michael goes to Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals as his father told him to do to meet his sister and the rest of the animatronics who has the souls of the first missing kids. The animatronics create an art, then they use the scooper on Michael and get inside him and wear him as a suit. Michael is basically a corpse at this point, so the robots escape from him. But he doesn't die because he was injected with remnant from the scooper. 30 years later, Springtrap was found and brought to a horror attraction where he finds Michael. Michael burned the entire place down to kill Springtrap and free the kids' souls, but his plan failed. Henry opens a restaurant to lure the rest of the animatronics into it, and Michael starts working there. Henry burns the place down, freeing the souls of the kids with his daughter and sending William to hell. Michael stays to end it all. The souls of the kids got free, and they found peace. And finally, William gets tortured in hell by Cassidy.